All right, so this is Brendan Tedstone, Select Board Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Our friend Nasrullah is having some computer issues. He's rebooting. He'll be with us shortly. Brian Herr.
Here.
Mary Jo Lafreniere. Same thing. And Amy Ritterbush.
Here.
Yeah, and with the three of us, that that means that we have a quorum. Knowing that Ms. Lafreniere and Mr. Nasrullah will be here momentarily. This open meeting of the Hopkins Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Oops, sorry. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we're complying with the executive order that suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of public bodies are allowed to participate and encouraged to participate remotely. The executive order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as the public body makes provisions through adequate alternative means to ensure interested members of the public are provided reasonable access to the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. For this meeting, the Select Board is convening via video conference, via Zoom webinars posted on the town's web meeting calendar, and the board's agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may be also broadcast by HCAM through one of its many channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Ground meeting rules. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct for our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will invite board members to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Not every agenda item will feature public comment. For the public forum of this portion, for the public forum portion of this agenda, Chair will work with the meeting host to call on each pre-registered speaker to make their comment. Each speaker must begin by identifying their name and address. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes for their comments. Please use the raise hand feature of the Zoom now to indicate that you would like to make a comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's see here. So I am looking at the participants. I don't see that anybody has raised their hand. So public forum, if there's any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature of Zoom when called on, identifying yourself by your name and address. Seeing nobody, we will move to Sean Mcauliffe. If Sean is here, if we could make sure that his mic gets livened up so we could hear him give us his 10 minutes or so of update on the COVID crisis going on. Hi, Sean.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So as of 5:30 this evening, we've had 439 total cases. 60 of those are active. We've had a total of 17 deaths and 362 have recovered. So we've had a total of 299 cases since September 21st, 2020. Like the rest of the Commonwealth, we're experiencing a second surge of cases that's related to, the Christmas and New Year holidays, a little bit of a vacation time. These cases in Hopkinton are the result of holiday gatherings, travel, some workplace exposure, and sorry, Brendan, but we've seen an uptick in cases related to hockey. Our current percent positivity just dropped. It's 3.72, but we want our percent positivity ideally to be below 1%. I think the week prior to Christmas, we had a positivity rate of 4. The state's, so it was 4. It's dropped twice, and I believe we're going to see another drop this week, provided we don't get any more of a surge tonight. We remain in the yellow risk category. We're one of the few in this region that is still yellow. Now, to combat, this surge, we launched the attestation software, which, the goal or purpose of the software is to reduce the risk of contacts and potential cases from entering the school. So this week alone, Monday morning, we stopped 2 cases from entering the building, and we're finding that the residents that are using it are finding it useful, and just reminding them of, that, if I'm going to go get tested, I shouldn't be sending my kid to school. If they're experiencing any symptoms at home, it's worthy of a call to the health department and the school nurses. So if nothing else, it is getting people to stop, kind of reevaluate their morning routine, and either follow up with the health department and the school nurses. So, and I would add, kind of to the school's credit, the health department's credit, the actions of the school nurses. We're one of the only districts in this immediate region who haven't had a full school closure. We were able to make it into the holidays with the hybrid program intact. And I believe if we continue doing what we've been doing, face covering, distancing, staying home when we're sick, completing our attestation in both our workplace and in our schools, we're going to see an improvement over the next few weeks. And we run a good shot at getting, through the vaccination period, and, right up until June, in either hybrid or, maybe something beyond that. So it's really just requesting that parents, employers, everybody just focus on the basics. Again, distancing, face coverings, staying home when you're ill. Moving on to vaccinate. Hold on.
You've been tested for COVID, Sean? It sounds like, as a nurse, it sounds like a COVID cough.
It's the result of speaking nonstop for 13 hours yesterday and 12 hours today.
12 hours.
Before you go to the vaccines, what's your assessment of what's going on in the state as a whole? Where do you see the state trending over the next 4 to 6 weeks?
There are communities that are blowing up right now. If you bump into Casey, ask her about my director's meeting on Thursday of last week. It looked like a bunch of hungover older gentlemen and women who were just beaten. And they, one of the comments was that, I was complaining about having 400 cases. So we are seeing a dramatic surge in certain communities, and it's it's the work of the residents, the fact that we're all working together, from be it the select board, throughout the municipal offices, and parents have played a big role in just helping us, stay on track. And but that said, I think we've had over 680 people travel since Thanksgiving, and it's that travel, that added exposure and risk that is driving our numbers. I like just about every conversation I had today was, one of my last calls was someone, I was identified as a contact. I don't know who to call about that contact. And I'm like, well, you're not part of my contacts. Did you go to a holiday party? Well, yes, I did. And it turns out it was that holiday party close to Boston that they attended. And one of the participants was positive, and now there's 16 people identified as either positive or potentially, well, they're symptomatic. So it just, all it takes is a few of these gatherings to really drive the numbers up. So again, yeah, I see us, I see the Commonwealth experiencing a surge, and it's going to take several weeks for us to recover. But people are starting to focus on better behaviors now that we're coming out of the holidays, and now with the Commonwealth is launching a bunch of new marketing and communication campaigns to support the need to buckle down, the need to kind of get our house in order, and if we do so, we'll have an easier and more favorable bridge between now and when we get vaccinated. But it's we're not as, I don't think we're as or in as dire a place as some of the southern states, or certainly not California. But I think it's just because we have some better programming, and people adopted the masks, the face covering, the distancing, staying home when you're sick. We just had a better plan in place, and we've stuck to that plan.
So, Sean, I wanted to just quickly touch on something from another town, and kind of build from what I saw this week with Dr. Wong's resignation in Framingham. Working in the healthcare field in Framingham, I work extensively with Dr. Wong and with Kitty, and it's amazing. The job that those two did was amazing, and it's nice to see our community, although you're always going to get a few people that are lobbing grenades from the side. It's nice to see our community support our Board of Health and our officers, rather than the witch hunt that went on in Framingham for months with Dr. Wong. Those people in Framingham don't know what they had. And
I'm a Framingham resident. I mean,
I know, and he's a wonderful guy. I've spent hours and hours and hours on end picking his brain and working very closely with he and Kitty. And the assistant is going to step into I don't know why anyone would want that job. That city is so, they have their pitchforks out, and they have the lynch squad going, no matter who it is. If you walked on water, they'd say it's because you can't swim. Right. It's nice to see our community support you and try to do whatever we can for you. So it must be refreshing for you to sit where you're sitting. And even though you're putting in countless hours and all your energy, at least it's not for naught. You know, there's no one that's looking to lynch you. And I hope that you know that with Mr. Kamalo and Ms. Lazarus, as well as with the select board, that we back you 100% for everything that you're doing. And we do appreciate the hard work that's going on.
No, well, thank you. And
though I like to cut you off quickly because you talk a lot.
no, and I was just to build on that, you know, that's why Casey and we're still here and we're still plugging away, because, you know, we have the support of the select board, the municipal, officials. And I mean, like, my peers were astounded that we were getting, you know, holiday cards and holiday calls, and people were just reaching out, you know, to thank us for all of the work. And it's that, you know, I can't tell you. I mean, I'll admit I'm a little fragile right now, but, you know, people calling, stopping by and, you know, shaking my hand, or not figuratively shaking my hand. But, you know, that, like, I was a weeping mess, you know, around Christmas time. But, and that just means a lot. And it's really what's, like I said, it's kept us going.
And that said, I believe if you haven't filled that spot, I believe Dr. Wong is looking for some work. So
no, he was a mentor of mine. So,
yeah,
you know, I owe him a lot. And so just moving forward. So as soon as we heard, you know, that vaccine was being released, the health department and the fire Chief Slayman, we started working with other local communities. They had set, they had basically established a 200 vaccine minimum per delivery for first responder vaccinations. So since we weren't able to hit that 200 threshold, we teamed up with Westboro, Southboro, Northboro, Ashland, and Sherburne, and we have an approved first responder clinic set up. The vaccine will be delivered sometime this week to the Westboro dispensing site, and we are preparing to start dispensing vaccine to our first responders and our 911 operators on Monday, on the 11th. And so that's great. And then we've got CVS Walgreens is partnered with Fairview, and they're to start their vaccination program very shortly. And Golden Pond, they partnered, I believe it's Bouvier, but it's a local pharmacy, and all of their staff and residents will get vaccinated in the next, I believe within the next week. And we touch base with both facilities several times a week. And so, you know, we're just looking forward to them, you know, getting into the vaccination process and hopefully just turning a new page with respect to those facilities and the risk, you know, just the risk reduction the vaccine will bring those facilities. And then, you know, I'd say that, as you might be familiar with, the state, they have all of our data. They have our vaccination numbers. We've been providing them all of the documentation that they've requested out of our emergency dispensing plan. And really right now, we're sitting here waiting for the schedule for the start of phase 2 and how they intend to deliver, you know, the vaccine to us. And with that instruction, you know, we'll start making plans for the phase 2 vaccination. But to that point, that's about all I know. Is we have the plan, we have, you know, the generators, we have everything that we need to run a mobile facility, and we're just waiting to see if they're going to cut the vaccine directly to Casey and I, or if they want us to keep a larger regional model. We expected to learn more today, and they just told us that it would be coming out in about a week. So
Is that a DPH call?
excuse me. Oh
Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
the-
that's DPH call. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that side.
So what I can say is that if you do a search for the mass COVID-19 vaccination program, they have committed to updating that twice a week. And at that page, we're supposed to be able to find, you'll be able to see the regional map. We're in that, I think we're in group 35. It's identified as the Westboro group. And they'll be providing updates and proposed schedule, like vaccine delivery dates and the phase 2 vaccination plan, for our different groups. And then they'll be posting information on the mass vaccination centers that they're in the process of building out. And then all of this activity will be coupled with a vaccination awareness campaign that will help educate the residents of Massachusetts on the various vaccines that are available. You'll have access to vaccine research data, really everything that you might need to help, arrive at an informed decision.
And the protocol is a little different on this as well. So after you're vaccinated, you have to sit and be monitored by a clinician for either 15 or 30 minutes post-vaccination to kind of assure that everything went smoothly. And the 30-minute would be if somebody elected to have the vaccination, if they're known to have anaphylactic reaction to an injectable medication. So,
yeah.
That at my facility, we're scheduled for the 15th. So we're figuring out logistically where we can do 200 vaccinations, where we have to stage people prior to vaccination. Then we have to have them stage post-vaccination. And that's being done through CVS with the Pfizer vaccine. But it's a lot more dealing with the logistics prior to vaccination than just having someone come up, roll up their sleeve, give them a shot and say, a lollipop and a Band-Aid and see you later. So
right. And that front end planning, we've got all the front end planned out, and now it's just, so if they elect to send us, if they elect to basically allow us to operate the same system that we currently operate for flu vaccination, we know we can do that with ease. And it's just now tweaking, to your point, how, we'll run the people through, they'll get the vaccine, and then how are we going to stagger them, in a temporary parking or temporary holding area where an EMT or nurse can, cycle through the group. They'll be equipped with EpiPens and, any other equipment they need. But so that's the one thing that we're tweaking on our outdoor plan. But otherwise, I was just going to end with the fact that the per diem staff have been, a fantastic addition. We have pulled back our contact tracing. They're doing a fantastic job at keeping up with the tracing. And it's allowed Casey and I to find some normalcy with this latest uptick. Like I said, I started at 5 yesterday and I finished around 7, but we expected to be working a little more this week. And if Thursday comes along and we're we're not seeing more of a surge, I think we'll be right back to a better, more manageable and sustainable schedule.
Good. Well, Sean, thanks for the update. You did a great job. You're doing a great job. Don't hesitate to call on us if you need anything as a board. And me personally, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions? As far as the spike that we're in now, you attribute that mostly to the holidays, and would you expect that we're going to flatten the curve again now that the holidays are over? Is that your expectation right now?
Yeah, I expect to see a drop through the weekend because, we know that most cases present themselves 4 to 5 days out. We're at that 4 to 5 day period. And I'll tell you, we saw a significant spike in symptomatic residents this morning and throughout the afternoon. And we believe that will carry through to, like I said, about Thursday. And then what I'm hoping to see is that we start dropping back down. And if we proceed the way I believe we will, we'll be able to stay in that yellow risk. And then really it's just seeing what we can do to move forward to drop down into like a green risk rating and just, really take control over.
And then one last thing, we've been talking about it at home, like what is the phase 2 rollout? Like how, I know you said you don't know, but so suppose there's somebody elderly in the house with 2 conditions that would put them at higher risk. So we think she's a phase 2. Like, does she need to go get a doctor's note in order to be able to get in line? Do you have any ideas of what it's all going to look like?
Like that's really what we're waiting for, because they moved healthy 75-year-old and older were moved to the front, moved up into phase 2. We have people with 2 comorbidities. We have essential employees. They're modifying what an essential employee is. And that's what they apologized for today, was that they're making, you've got different groups that are approaching the governor's team, and they're, entering into discussion, and they're making these risk-based decisions, as we're moving, and then they're kind of keeping us I wouldn't say wholly in the dark, but we're just waiting to see, who they are, because again, we have the entire demographic of the community broken out with vaccine allocations per group. And we just need to know, are we going to, how many MRC are we going to have to activate? And it's going to be a big part of our plan. And so
Okay.
like I said.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. You're, huge asset for this community, and glad we have you.
Well, thank you very much. All right.
Sean, you and Casey are salaried positions, correct?
Yep.
Straight salary positions?
Yeah, there's been a modification for, there have been some recent modifications to kind of help, but yes, we are straight salary.
Mr. Kamal, when was the last time we did an adjustment to help, given the crazy hours they're putting in?
You want? Just recently.
Mr. Head, through the chair, as Sean just mentioned, we made a recent adjustment to Casey and Sean's compensation.
Okay, I mean, they're doing extraordinary work in extraordinary times.
Yep.
And I just want to make sure that they're fairly compensated for that. The citizens absolutely support it.
Yep.
And I just want to make sure it's happening. So I'm glad that's happening. Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Mary Jo or Amy, do you have anything? No, we can move on. Sean, thank you again very much for everything. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you at our next meeting, if not sooner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. The board will consider approving the consent agenda consisting of approval of the minutes of the select board meetings on December 10 and 15, accepting $220 in gifts from the fire department from residents at Legacy Farms, and accepting a gift of $100 to the police department from the residents of Juniper Trail. Would any member like to pull any item out? Hearing none, I would request a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Nasrullah, how do you vote?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr?
Or yes.
Ms. Lafreniere?
Lafreniere, yes.
Ritterbusch?
Ms. Ritterbusch, yes.
Redstone, yes. Historical Commission appointment. The board will consider filling a vacancy on the Historical Commission. There's one vacancy for a full member, and there are two applicants. Stacy Spies is currently an associate member. Kevin McCaffrey is a new applicant. Mr. McCaffrey has let the staff know that he does not wish to be considered for the full member position, but would love to be considered to an associate member position should one become available. Board members, it appears if we appoint Ms. Spies as a full member, there will be an associate member vacancy to which we could appoint Mr. McCaffrey. Does the board have any issue with me requesting a motion to appoint Stacy Spies to the full member position on the Historical Commission to a term expiring on June 30, 2022?
I think that's great.
I
Yeah,
have
no,
objection,
terrific.
but She's extremely qualified. I can
Good.
call for it.
All right, so then I will request that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Nasrullah, how do you vote?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr? Ms. Lafreniere?
Lafreniere, yes.
Ritterbusch?
Ritterbusch, yes.
Redstone, yes. I request a motion to appoint Kevin McCaffrey as an associate member of the Historical Commission to a term expiring June 30, 2023.
So moved?
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Nasrullah?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr?
Or yes.
Ms. Lafreniere?
Lafreniere, yes.
Ms. Ritterbusch?
Ritterbusch, yes.
Redstone, yes. The select board will discuss the 2021 annual town meeting and hear FY 2022 budget updates. Mr. Kamalu.
Yes, through the chair, very quick updates. In terms of the annual town meeting, we are sending our regular invitation to board members. If you have any articles that you'd like us to consider, including in the annual town meeting warrant, please reach out to the office, let us know. At your last meeting, we did circulate to you a listing of the articles that we have put forth already.
Great.
And then in terms of the
Right.
budget, very interesting, budgeting under COVID-19 affairs. I'm really happy to report this evening that the town is making good progress in developing the fiscal 22 budget. Specifically, the Budget Advisory Committee, consisting of representatives from the school committee, the select board, the appropriations committee, and professional staff, is meeting periodically to review projected revenue figures and summaries of the budget requests. Staff level meetings between the town manager's office, the finance department, and the school department are also continuing on a regular basis. In fact, our last meeting was yesterday afternoon. The annual departmental reviews have been held for all town departments with me, the assistant town manager, Elaine Lazarus, and the CFO, Tim O'Leary. And at the committee level, the Capital Improvement Committee began its review of the capital requests submitted by the departments, and we are hoping that they will continue towards issuing their recommendations in the coming weeks. Simultaneously, the Community Preservation Committee, CPC, has been very active and has proposed to date 7 projects for funding, with others still under consideration. In the coming weeks, the school committee will finalize its budget request. And the Budget Advisory Committee will continue to track the projected revenues and expenditures for FY 2022. On January 26th, I will provide a consolidated comprehensive budget recommendation to the Select Board, including, per your budget message, budgets with a 2.5% tax impact and a 1% tax impact within the tax levy as you directed. Much work remains to be done in the coming weeks to meet your directive, but I'm very confident that we have the right team, the right information, and the necessary level of collaboration to develop a one-town solution to the FY 2022 budget challenge in spite of the COVID-19 constraints. Questions?
I appreciate your confidence, Mr. Khumalo. Board members, Mr. Nasrullah.
No real questions. I do want to say, just thank you, Mr. Khumalo, for everything you're doing. I think we have a lot of challenges with COVID, and the fact that we're working hard at keeping our budget in control and within the levy, I think is a fantastic thing, and just keep it up.
Mr. Herr.
A couple of questions. First, as far as the annual town meeting itself goes and the timing of that town meeting, I know we're on a path right now for what appears to be a May town meeting, but if that is delayed, what happens to the budget schedule? Does that get pushed out, or are we still going to try and wrap it up in advance of a regular schedule?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Hay. In fact, from where I sit, our next key deadline is the end of January in terms of putting together the budget process and presenting it to the Select Board. I don't see that changing at all. Should anything else come up after that date, we will, through a very collaborative process, consult with everybody and determine the way forward.
So right now we're thinking with the town clerk and the moderator and all others that we're hopeful for a May town meeting.
For now, I believe so.
The second point I would make is I think we're on the right path for FY22. And we've had a lot of momentum in town here the last 10 years since the recession, and coming out of the recession and through to today. But we've got a tough road ahead. I'm not so worried about FY22 as I am worried about FY23 and 24, because that's when the real impact of the economic downturn is going to be felt at the municipal level, at least our level anyway, in Hopkinton. I think there's a 1 or 2 year lag for some of these things. And, even if we feel like we got a little cash, we're a little cash rich this year with some reserves and with some growth and things, I still think we want to be very, very conservative, because it's 23 and 24 that will be more challenging to balance, in my not so humble opinion about budgeting. Thank you.
Mr. Herr, I appreciate your foresightedness, and this would be a good time to announce your candidacy for re-election. Lafreniere, moving on.
That's funny.
Oh, well, I agree with Brian, and I think that this is a good time when we're doing budgeting to remind people that an awful lot of people are not working. And Hopkinton is very fortunate, but we really kind of have to hold our feet to the fire on the budgets because we are looking to problems further out. And I just think we all need to remind ourselves and remind everybody involved in the budget process that just because we might be doing okay, doesn't mean we have to spend everything. In a nutshell.
Thank you. Ms. Ritterbush?
Yeah, I agree with what the others have said. I'm glad for everybody being flexible. These are kind of difficult times and we're needing some more things that we didn't expect. And as Ms. Lafreniere said, people are not everyone still has their job. Wanted to go over the timeline too. So let's see. So we're going to meet with school committee or attend their meeting on the 11th, it looks like. And then they're going to vote on their budget on the 18th. And then we're going to vote on our budget on the 26th. Is that correct? That we need to submit it?
You mean the 26th of February of January?
Is that right? Yeah.
No, that's
No.
not
So you'll submit it to us on January 26th.
correct.
And when will we need to vote on it then to send to appropriations?
The select board acts on the budget on February. In fact, the select board finalizes its budget on March 2nd.
March 2nd. Okay. So we'll have plenty of time to review it and for the public to take a look at it and everything. Great.
Yeah, and then for me, I think, that's all good news. Mr. Kamalo, I can, knowing that I sit with you in those other subcommittees and dealing with these budget things, you guys, everyone on those committees, a little bit of patting myself on the back too, that spend a lot of time and effort working on these budgets to get everything ready for town meeting. So, if we took nothing else out of this, I appreciate Mr. Herr announcing his candidacy for re-election tonight. So,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
you may.
Yeah, to be clear, March 2nd, the board will hold its budget hearing. And then on March 16th, the select board will formally adopt the budget and forward it to the appropriations committee. I also need to let the board know, as well as share with the community, that this is a different budget process for me, precisely for two reasons. The first reason is the assistant town manager is more involved this year in the budget development process. And also secondly, this is the most opportune time for us to give the chief financial officer a much more robust role in the budget process. And I believe both of them have stepped up to the plate and playing those roles very effectively.
Excellent. Thank you. So moving on, Legacy Farms North, order of taking. At the 2020 annual town meeting, the town voted to accept Legacy Farms North as a public way. Following up on that vote, the board will vote to adopt an order of taking for recording in the Registry of Deeds. This is a procedural requirement for accepting streets as public ways. The order was prepared by town council and was included in our packet. Board members, any comments or questions? No, it's all straightforward. So I'll request a motion to vote pursuant to Article 21 on the September 12, 2020 annual town meeting to execute an order of taking of the private way known as Legacy Farms North, together with easements for drainage, utility, and other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, no further discussion. Mr. Nasrullah, how do you vote?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr?
Or yes.
Ms. Lafreniere?
Frenier, yes.
Ms. Ritterbush?
Ritterbush, yes.
Headstone, yes. Mr. Kamalo, the town manager report, please.
2 sentences. First, yesterday morning, we received an invitation to the pre-construction meeting with Mass DOT, the contractor, and all stakeholders. It's going to be held this Thursday at 8 a.m.
Where?
via Zoom.
Okay,
Yeah, in fact, it's a Microsoft Team Meet.
okay.
Second issue is we are continuing our conversations with our colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce just to put in place a process that will allow for improved communication between businesses, residents, and the project implementers during construction.
Excellent. That was, for the record, more than 2 sentences, but thank you. Future, board liaison and board, liaison reports and board invites. Mr. Nasrullah,
I have none.
Mr. Herr,
Nothing at this time.
Miss Lafreniere,
I have a Zoom meeting with one of mine tomorrow morning, so I'll have something next meeting.
Miss Ritterbusch.
I think I'm all set.
Future board agenda items. Mr. Nasrullah,
I do not have any.
Herr. Hearing none. Miss Lafreniere,
No,
Miss Ritterbusch.
Nothing new.
Okay. Mr. Nasrullah, if you would, please.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Nasrullah, how do you vote?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr,
Her, yes.
Miss Lafreniere,
Frenier, yes.
Miss Ritterbusch,
Ritterbusch, yes.
Petstone, yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Everybody,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.